call me an ambulance? How many of you have been in a situation like this where someone needed an ambulance? Anyone? Yeah. How did that moment feel? Intense, scary, chaotic? All these negative emotions stemming from a moment where you had no control. There was nothing else you could do. In life, we have these chaotic, uncontrollable moments happening to us over and over again. They don't all require an ambulance, but they're very real. These moments try to teach us that you can't have control in life. Bad things are going to happen, you have to accept it and move on. I'm here to teach you that there's a better way. I'm a Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen. I've made it my mission to help people like you take control of their lives. I first started understanding this principle shortly after high school. I was living in Mexico taking advantage of a service opportunity. They'd stationed me in Ciudad Juarez. If you're familiar with Ciudad Juarez, you know their primary exports are illegal drugs and human trafficking. To say there's crime and chaos in Juarez is really not painting the picture. My house was in the middle of the ghetto where I could regularly hear gunfighting off in the distance. The gunshots were far enough away that they didn't bother me too much. But there was that day when they showed up at my front door. I've been home maybe 2 minutes and I hear it. Bam, bam, bam! I immediately look at my companions and I say, I wonder what's going on outside. And I just start heading towards the door to go watch the gunfight. Luckily, there are 3 other guys there that can grab me, hold me down, and say, don't go outside, dummy. We don't need to watch the gunfight. The unfortunate part was all 3 of those guys were like, yeah, I wonder what's going on outside. And we saunter onto the door together. I'm the first one out. I see this truck heading off down the road. Then I see this guy grabbing his leg that's bleeding as he hobbles into the driveway across the street. Our neighbor Juanita witnessed the whole thing. She told us that the guys in the truck were part of one of the local drug cartels. They saw this guy who was part of a rival cartel. They shot him and they drove away. The most concerning part of the situation happened about 30 minutes later. As the crowd began to dissipate, I realized that nobody has called an ambulance for this poor guy. So I grabbed my companion and we go back to Juanita and we say, hey, do we need to call an ambulance? She gets the most puzzled look on her face. She says, what for? He just got shot in the leg. He'll be okay. What? Those were the words that came out of her mouth. I never imagined there was a community in the world where someone would get shot and nobody would call medical assistance, or that they wouldn't want anyone involved. But here I was, living in this community. I began to realize that if I get shot, they're just going to call up the local soccer coach and tell me to throw some dirt on it and give him a couple laps. Chaotic, uncontrollable situation, and that's just one moment. I came home, went to college. Right before I graduated, the housing market collapsed and the economy tanked, making it very difficult to find a job. With no real experience, I started my own business and failed colossally. I learned a harsh lesson of what it's like to struggle to keep your family from being homeless. Later, my wife was in a car accident. T-boned by a cement truck. She survived, but it took the life of our 2-year-old daughter. We had a son born with a rare disease that required multiple surgeries by the time he was 7 months old to save his life. But it worked. However, we had another son who was born still. These are just the big ones, too. Through all of these moments, I learned a very valuable lesson. I learned that you get the life that you focus on. And if all you focus on is the chaotic and uncontrollable, you get a life that is chaotic and uncontrollable. The opposite is also true. If you want a life that's in control, stay focused on what you can control. That is so important. I'm going to say it again, so nudge your neighbor, make sure they're awake. If you want a life that's in control, stay focused on what you can control. I'm going to say it one more time, but I want you to say it with me. Ready? If you want a life that's in control, stay focused on what you can control. Going back to Mexico, I learned from the situation and I took control of my life by going to my companion. I asked him, if you see me get shot, will you call me an ambulance? He said, I'll do that for you if you do the same for me. And I said, deal. I've made that deal with other people too. And yeah, my wife looked at me and said, well, duh. But I know when she sits up at night thinking about shooting me, she knows she still has to call an ambulance. Seriously though, through each of these moments, I stayed focused on what I could control. My attitude, the people I'd serve and hold on to, the lessons I'd learned. And every time I came out the other side, a better husband, a better father, a better person of faith, and a better member of my community than I ever knew I could be. We know that these uncontrollable moments are coming. They may even be in your life right now. If you're not focused on what you can control before they get here, it's going to be more difficult when they come. I'm going to share with you the 3 biggest things that are sabotaging your ability to take control and what you can do about them. The first one is when you just let your day happen to you. You wake up whenever, you eat whatever, you do whatever, and you have no plan. Maybe just every once in a while. But if you cannot take control of your day, you cannot take control of your life. Every day, habitually, you should be doing something that improves you mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially. Write down what those things need to be and check them off every time you do them until they become habit. Take control of your days. The second saboteur are the toxic and controlling relationships you keep close to you. Jim Rohn says you become the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're spending your time with toxic and controlling people, what kind of person are you going to be? Toxic and controlling. And there's a difference between controlling yourself and controlling others. Only one of those things is possible. Surround yourself with people who love you, believe in you, and challenge you. People who are accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish. Become the average of those people. Take control of your relationships. And the third saboteur is the clutter that you allow to pile up in your physical spaces. Because when it piles up in your physical spaces, it piles up in your mental and emotional spaces, increasing your propensity towards anxiety and mental illness. I get that this is easier said than done, too. I myself have 4 feral children chasing 2 dogs around my house at all times. But if I spend at least 15 minutes a day dealing with the clutter, my house becomes manageable. Not perfect, but manageable, and I sleep better at night. Ultimately, there's 2 takeaways I need you to have. 1, you can have a life that's in control by staying focused on what you can control, starting with your days, your relationships, and your physical spaces. And 2, if you ever see me get shot, will you call me an ambulance? Yes? Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.